It was a hot summer afternoon, and the kind of silence that only comes with leaves lying out in the country had settled over my ranch. I had just finished tending to the cows, my boots kicking up dust as I walked back to the house, wiping sweat from my brow. The faint smell of hay still lingered in the air. I was just thinking about grilling some steaks and relaxing when I saw the flashing red and blue lights of a squad car in my driveway. I stopped dead in my tracks, my heart dropping into my stomach. It wasn't unusual for the sheriff to drive through the neighborhood, but this felt wrong. And as I walked closer, I saw her Karen standing next to the officer, her arms crossed, wearing that smug look I'd seen so many times before. Now, Karen wasn't exactly my favorite person. We'd always had some disagreements, mostly about my cows roaming too close to the road. But I'd never thought it would escalate to this. The officer nodded in my direction, signaling for me to approach. "DVYD," he said, voice calm but with a hint of caution, "she's claiming your cows are a nuisance. Zoning violation. But we haven't found anything that checks out. Yet." I felt my jaw tighten. I didn't need to hear any more. I'd known Karen for years long enough to know she didn't care about the truth. She just cared about having control. And right now, she was standing there like she had won some battle, a smug grin plastered on her face. I tried to keep my voice steady. "This is ridiculous," I said, hands clenched into fists at my sides. "They're my cows, and they're on my property." But Karen wasn't having it. She stood there, arms crossed tightly, as though she was the wronged one. "You're causing a nuisance, DVYD," she shot back, her voice full of venom. "These cows are a hazard to the neighborhood. I'm not letting this slide." The officer was trying to be diplomatic, but I could tell he was getting uncomfortable. I'd been nothing but kind to Karen, helped her with repairs on her fence, fed her dog when she went away for work. But none of that mattered now. All that mattered to her was making my life miserable, for some reason I still didn't understand. "Just leave it alone, Karen," I muttered under my breath, my temper bubbling. "This is ridiculous." Her sharp gaze turned on me like a blade. "Excuse me," she sneered. "I'm just saying," I continued, trying to backpedal, "that I'm not causing any harm. I've been nothing but kind to you, and now you're making this a problem for everyone." But Karen wasn't done. Of course she wasn't. Her eyes narrowed, and I could see the wheels turning in her head. "I'm not letting this go, DVYD," she said, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "If the cops won't do anything, I'll take matters into my own hands." That's when I knew something was coming, something bigger than just zoning complaints. Before I could stop her, she whipped out her phone and started dialing, her eyes never leaving me. "Karen," I warned, my voice sharp now. "Don't do it." But she didn't listen. She finished dialing and held the phone up to her ear, that twisted smile on her face. "I'm calling the zoning department," she said, like she was announcing a VY-tory. "And if that doesn't work, I'll take it to the city council. I'll make sure they shut you down for good." I felt my heart sink. The city council? The zoning department? Was she really going to do this? My mind raced as the officer stood there, dumbfounded. He realized what was happening too, and started walking toward Karen, but it was too late. The call was already made. "I'll be damned," the officer muttered. She really did it. It was in that moment, as I stood there frozen, that I realized I wasn't just fighting for my cows anymore. This wasn't about a couple of animals grazing too close to the road. This was about something far bigger. Karen wasn't just an annoying neighbor. She was trying to take my livelihood, my home. And she wasn't stopping until she got what she wanted. The officer turned back to me, his expression serious. "DVYD, you'll need to come with me to the station. We need to clear a few things up." My stomach dropped. I hadn't done anything wrong. I hadn't violated any zoning laws. This whole thing was based on nothing more than Karen's lies. But the way the officer was speaking made me feel like I was the one in trouble. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, Karen stepped forward with that same self-satisfied look on her face. "DVYD," she said, almost taunting, "you've been violating zoning laws for months. I have the proof, and I'm not going to let you get away with it anymore." I couldn't believe it. Karen was claiming I had been causing trouble for months, and the officer was taking her word at face value. This wasn't just a misunderstanding anymore. This was an attack on everything I had worked for. As I was escorted to the squad car, I felt the weight of the situation crushing me. I wasn't just fighting for my cows. I was fighting for my home, for my ranch, for my community. But I wasn't about to let Karen win. No matter what happened next, I was going to fight back. The hours in the station felt like an eternity. I sat in a small room, my thoughts spinning. My life had been turned upside down, all because of one person. Karen was using false accusations to tear my world apart, and I wasn't sure how I was going to stop her. Finally, after what felt like hours, the officer returned. His expression was grim. "We've looked into Karen's claims more closely," he said, his voice low. "And it turns out, you're right. The cows haven't been causing any problems. They've been on your property the whole time, in full compliance with zoning laws." A wave of relief washed over me. But then the officer dropped the bombshell. "There's more," he said. "Karen's been making these complaints for months, and it turns out she's been working with a developer, a private one, trying to buy up properties in the area." I blinked. A developer? What did that have to do with me? "It's starting to make sense now," the officer continued. "She's been making these complaints to drive down property values. People have been so fed up with her that they're thinking about selling. And that's exactly what she wants. She's working with the developer to buy up the land for cheap." My heart sank. This was never about cows. This was about money, power, and control. Karen wasn't just trying to get me off her property, she was trying to force me out, and anyone else who got in her way, so she and the developer could profit. "Well, we're not going to let her get away with it," I said, standing up, a fire starting to burn inside me. "We're going to stop her." The officer nodded. "But you need to be careful. She's dangerous, and she's not going to stop now that we've figured out her angle." I wasn't backing down. Not now. Not after everything she had put me through. I was going to fight. For my land, for my community, for my future. I called my lawyer, and we began preparing to expose Karen for what she truly was, a manipulative, power-hungry liar. With the lawyer's help, we gathered evidence, talked to neighbors, and prepared our case. We weren't going to let Karen and her developer friend destroy everything. When the day came to confront her, it was more than just a zoning issue. It was a fight for what was right. The zoning board listened carefully, and when it was my turn to speak, I stood tall. "This isn't about cows," I said, my voice steady. "It's about protecting our homes, our families, and our community. Karen's actions have been deceitful, and I won't stand by while she destroys everything we've worked for." Karen's face turned red, and I could see the cracks forming in her smug facade. She wasn't used to being called out, not like this. And in the end, the zoning board ruled in our favor, disqualifying her from any further attempts to manipulate the system. As I stood there, surrounded by my neighbors, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. This wasn't just my Tory. It was everyone's. We had come together as a community, and we had won. But I knew this wouldn't be the end. There would always be people like Karen, trying to tear things down for their own gain. But as long as we stood together, we could fight back. I turned to my neighbors, a smile spreading across my face. "We did it," I said. "We're not backing down." And that's when I knew no matter what came next, I was ready. Because this was more than just a fight for my land. It was a fight for everything I believed in. So what do you think? Was Karen right in trying to force the VYD out? Or is this a case of one person trying to take advantage of their neighbors? Let me know in the comments below.